Hi Bharat,
Hi Aditya.
welcome to Sudeep Audio's YouTube channel.
Thank you so much.
We've known each other for quite some time now.
That's right.
And if you could tell the viewers about some of the songs that you've done, which they are familiar with.
Okay, so I've had the privilege of producing songs like Baby Doll, which I actually won Mirchi Awards for. Then I've done Cutie Pie from Ae Dil Hai Mushkil. I've done Chicken Song from Bajrangi Bhaijan. I've had the privilege of producing a lot of songs with Rochak Kohli. So I've done Mitti Di Khushboo with Aayushman Khurana. I've done Yahi Hoon Main with Aayushman Khurana. And a lot of other films, and commercials and everything.
Any recent songs that have come out?
So I did Dekhte Dekhte from Batti Gul Meter Chalu, Shahid Kapoor film, which did very well. Atif Aslam sang the original version.
Right.
Yeah.
Nice. So that's a very good introduction to start off.
Cheers.
So let's understand how you became a musician, what brought you into this line, and how did you kind of grow?
Okay, so it all started when I was very young. I was about 4 years old. My mother used to learn the harmonium from Master Ji, who used to come at home. And one day when she just finished her class, I started playing that harmonium on my own. And Master Ji was right there. So he told my mother apparently that I was gifted, the ear, and he encouraged her to have me trained in tal. So then I took on form, as in my parents had me trained for tabla, formally, for about 6 years.
Was this in Bombay? Or?
No, this was when I was in Kanpur.
Okay.
So yeah, so my father was on a transferable job.
Okay.
So that time he was posted in Kanpur.
Right.
In fact, half of my schooling was from Kanpur, and half of my schooling was from Mumbai.
Okay.
So this happened when I was in Kanpur.
Okay.
After that, when Papa got posted to Mumbai, then in Mumbai, I remember my parents got me a Yamaha PSR 630, which was a legendary machine at that particular point of time. So that's how my journey with keyboards and sound design.
So what kind of songs were you playing at that time?
I used to play in the school orchestra regularly. I was in fact adjudged the best instrumentalist in school a couple of times.
Oh, great.
Yeah, and I used to also play in the school assembly drums and keyboards and all of that. Then after that, I moved to Singapore to pursue my IT degree. I was actually in Singapore Management University. I did information systems management, and that gave me a very solid background in information technology. So I have two loves in life. One is technology and one is music. I'm basically marrying the two. So I did information systems management from Singapore Management University. Spent about 5 years there. Learned everything to do with coding and designing. I used to actually code security software.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was a proper geek.
Are you a hacker by any chance?
No, well, at one time I knew how to sort of do it, but only for the ethical parts. The other thing I did when I was there in Singapore was I started off actually as a DJ. So I used to do a lot of DJ shows.
But you had that confidence in the बाहर का country and.
हाँ मतलब म्यूजिक तो सब जगह है.
Agreed, but ऐसा ऑडियंस के सामने बजाने में थोड़ा बैंड बजता है.
करेक्ट, बिल्कुल सही बात है. इसलिए मेरी जो करियर था वो स्टार्टेड ऑफ एक्चुअली एज अ डीजे. तो वो शुरू से ही मैं रीमिक्सेस करता था और वो धीरे धीरे व्हेन आई गॉट अ फ्यू अपॉर्चुनिटीज आई स्टार्टेड प्लेइंग देम माय ओन रीमिक्सेस in parties and in clubs and all of that, and I got a very good response.
But this was part time or this became a full time?
No, part time. Obviously, because I was studying there. No,
correct.
I was studying there. Whatever time I used to get on the side, people do all kinds of odd jobs to make. Instead of working in a McDonald's, I was doing this.
Right.
So in fact, I remember there was a club over there called the Foreign Youth Club, which was basically a way of sort of inviting foreign students to join in and blend in. So I was kind of their resident DJ. Whatever events they used to do, I was, their go-to person. In fact, I'll tell you a funny story that happened once. This was in Singapore. I was doing a gig. Singapore is very strict on rules and laws. So I was actually 20, and the age limit for the entry was 21. So then there was a head count that happened when police showed up and all of that. And they saw my ID and they said, "You're underage, you can't play." I said, "But I'm the DJ of the night. I can't leave." Right? And we were halfway through the night. So what happened was, it's so funny. They actually made a mini DJ booth outside of the club just because it was physically outside. And then I had to sit and play there for as long as the remaining of the night. So I actually looked at the audience through a window.
What CD club you go to, man?
Well, this is the start of my career.
So, all right. So then you kind of didn't want to settle down in Singapore, work in a company, and do this in the weekends.
So the thing was, I had gone to Singapore on a kind of a scholarship. It's called a bond, right? So I had to sort of continue working there or basically set up a company. I set up a company called Purple Haze Productions, wherein I did a lot of production work, and I used to do video editing as well.
In Singapore.
In Singapore, yeah.
And how old were you that time? 20.
I was well, yeah. I graduated when I was about 22.
And you already started doing all these things.
Yeah, yeah. I was
यहाँ
running a
लोग को
company
आधार
side by
कार्ड
side.
एप्लीकेशन फॉर्म नहीं भरने को आता है.
नहीं वो
And
हम लोग थोड़े जल्दी entrepreneurship luckily we started early.
Right.
That was in fact that was a lot because of my parental support.
अच्छा.
That's something that in fact I would love to mention, which is that I had great support from my parents here. That is a very big boon for someone choosing, because in my entire family I have either engineers who are from IIT, like my uncles from IIM, so it's either engineers or bankers. My sister's an investment banker with Deutsche Bank, so it's either that. I was the only one who actually chose a very different line of work.
no pressure के boss नहीं
था बीच में था, of course शुरू में when I started off, pressure था कि why don't you choose something that is more, why don't you, because especially since I was doing information systems from a management university, but then it took me a while, but then once my parents realized that I was really passionate about what I do, they supported me wholeheartedly, and that's precisely why I moved to London to do my masters.
Okay.
Then when I moved to London, this was in 2008 9ish, I moved to London. I did masters in audio production from Westminster University, London. And that was a turning point in my life. I learned everything to do with audio production from Westminster in the most professional way possible, surrounded by some of the best studios I've ever been in. Westminster Studios, London. So great faculty, great professors. I still remember the person. His name was Mike. He's an artist in Greece, Studio Mike. And of course our head, who was Mate Dimle. We learned a lot from there. In fact, Eric Pillai is also from Westminster University.
Okay.
And now there's another guy called Karan. He's also from Westminster. He's also doing a lot of work. So all of us are Westminster alumni.
So tell me something, Bharat. So you have had primarily in your initial days exposure to the international education.
That's right.
Singapore, लंदन. यहाँ तो मास्टर जी आए नहीं आए, मतलब स्कूलों में जो अपना टिपिकल होता है.
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल.
तो did that influence the way you think and approach a project or a job or a song?
Absolutely. In fact, one of the I would say one of my USPs is that in terms of vision, when I sit to produce a song, I've had the privilege of working with all kinds of cultures across the world, and all kinds of musicians from across the world. So I'm not limited to any sort of certain thought process or any certain working pattern or any of that. Having had the privilege to work with so many different people, I'm able to bring out the best of whatever required for that particular project.
Correct. So post London, what is the thing after you did your...
Post London 2010 is when I moved to India. 2010 Jan.
You don't want to stay back there also?
No, so that's a funny story. I actually wanted to, because I was doing a lot of work there. So BBC Asian Network is one of the biggest radio stations there.
Yes.
They supported me a lot. They supported my work a lot. I remember there was Bobby Friction, Nihal, Amit Chana. These people supported me a lot, and I had actually released an album with a record label called Movie Box Records in the UK. They're one of the biggest record labels.
Instrumental?
No, proper.
Songs.
Vocal songs, everything. Yeah. So because Punjabi music in general and North Indian music is very famous abroad. So I had already done that, and I was getting a lot of work as a record producer from local artists. So I really honestly didn't have any reason to come back, but my parents were very keen. Why don't you actually explore opportunities in India? So, and my mom is the most resourceful person I know. So I told my mom, okay, if you can get me work with any of the top people, and I remember I said Rahman, Shankar Ehsaanloy, Vishal-Shekhar, Pritam, any of them. If you can get me.
Oh, you kept a condition.
Condition, yeah.
आप ढूंढ के लाओ तो मैं आता हूँ.
हाँ, कि आप ढूंढ के लाओ. नहीं तो मैं इंडिया जाने का क्यों रीजन था? क्योंकि मेरे को नया उस टाइम वीजा मिला था काम करने का, to live and work in United Kingdom. ग्रेजुएशन नहीं हुई थी, रिकॉर्ड लेवल भी था, आर्टिस्ट भी मिल रहे थे, कोई रीजन नहीं था. मम्मी पापा भी वहीं थे.
मतलब पेरेंट्स आपके लिए काम ढूंढ रहे.
I was lucky, very lucky that.
That means she's very cooperative and
she is very resourceful.
Resourceful too.
Very, very resourceful.
So how did she manage to do this?
Oh wow, she found some advertisement in a newspaper for some Universal Records that put up some ad. She got in touch with them. They put her in touch with Eros in India. Then she spoke to a gentleman called Rajesh Banga, who actually was sort of a godfather for me. So she fixed up a meeting.
He's the head there.
He was in a very senior position there.
Yeah.
So she fixed up a meeting with him. I met him for less than 5 minutes. I didn't know who the gentleman was, and to be honest, I didn't believe this was actually happening. You know.
You thought कि चलो छुट्टी पे आया हूँ
Exactly. And वो भी छुट्टी पे आए हुए थे. His family was in Birmingham. ठीक है, तो बर्मिंगम में मीटिंग
वहीं मिल लेते हैं.
वही मिले.
अच्छा.
बर्मिंगम में ही मॉल में हम लोग मिले. मॉल में, ही वाज ऑन हॉलीडे, तो वो अपने वो 3/4 में और वो बिल्कुल ही उसमें आई विद हिज किड्स एंड आई मेट हिम इन अ मॉल फॉर 5 minutes. मम्मी से टेक योर वर्क, सो आई टुक माय लैपटॉप, young small geeky kid, took my laptop, met him in a mall, met him for 5 minutes, and he asked me, beta, what is it that you want to achieve, what is it that you want to do? And I told him I want to be the next Rahman. I want to be the best music producer and composer that that the country is known. He said, okay, play me your work, and I played him my work. And he 5 minutes flat, he said, I want you to come to India. I will make you meet Pritam. Okay. I remember I didn't believe him. At that point, I didn't believe. यार वो होता है ना, if you meet somebody who says कि मैं आपको मिला दूंगा इनसे, वो पहला रिएक्शन ही होता है.
और वो भी
बर्मिंघम में शॉर्ट्स में बंदा बैठा है अपनी फैमिली.
पता नहीं क्या.
मैंने नहीं विश्वास किया. मैंने घर जाके मम्मी को बोला, मेरे को लगा, मैं कहा मम्मी ऐसा ये नहीं. मम्मी सेड, बेटा, आई बिलीव दिस इज रियली हैपनिंग, आई बिलीव इन इट, आप जाके देखो. मैंने कहा चलो, मम्मी का कॉन्फिडेंस है. तो मैं इंडिया आया एंड आई कॉल्ड राजेश जी. ही सेड, आ गया इंडिया? हाँ, आ जा ईरोस ऑफिस आ जा, मैंने प्रीतम से तेरी बात कर ली है और चल मिलने चलते हैं. जब मैं ईरोस ऑफिस पहुंचा एंड व्हेन आई वॉक्ड इन एंड आई एक्चुअली सॉ दिस जेंटलमैन, एंड आई एक्चुअली सॉ दैट इट्स रियल, दैट्स व्हेन इट स्टार्टेड सिंकिंग इन. ये दिस इज एक्चुअली हैपनिंग.
ये बगल वाला ऑफिस,
ये बगल वाला इधर अपना फिरंगी ढाबा के पास. तो दैट्स व्हेन इट स्टार्टेड सिंकिंग, ये सच में हो रहा है. I called mommy excited. I'm like, Mom, this is actually happening. And we went.
But you were following the Bollywood music from when you were in London, right?
So all these years of actually DJing, I had a huge, very good idea of what works, commercially and what people actually enjoy.
You were not like cut off.
Not at all. In fact, you'll be surprised. There are cultural societies abroad, Indian societies. They follow Bollywood music as hardcore Bollywood music lovers.
अच्छा.
हाँ, they'll go to regular concert. बिल्कुल.
Recent.
No, even when I was in Singapore.
No, I'm saying recent music, not
absolutely.
किशोर कुमार types.
नहीं, अरे बिल्कुल.
अच्छा.
हाँ, बिल्कुल 100%. सबसे ज़्यादा अपडेटेड वही होते हैं, क्योंकि उस टाइम सबसे ज़्यादा ऑनलाइन पॉपुलेशन भी, at that time internet was only coming into India. This thing ना, अब now there's a boom. वहाँ पे सबसे ज़्यादा अपडेटेड ऑनलाइन तो हम लोग ही थे. ऊपर से हम लोग IT स्टूडेंट्स थे, तो सारे so we were very same. In general जो cult hits होते थे ना बॉलीवुड के, they were popular amongst almost all Indian speaking pockets across the world.
Okay.
Like for example, I remember that time, especially in London, Rishi Rich and Jay Sean and Jaggi D and these people were very popular there. Then Bollywood music के उन्होंने जो tracks किए थे, there was few tracks they did for Bollywood and all of that also. So those crossed over, and in general a lot of tracks from here also. Even our indie pop era, the entire indie pop, Lucky Ali and all that, all of those songs,
popular.
very popular. Yeah. They were all, and that time there was no MP3s and only started. That idea of distribution. तो वो phones तो normal वाले थे. I have learned so much from Pritam da and from his team. In fact, मैं तो ये बोलता हूँ सबको कि दादा का जो ऑफिस है वो ऑफिस नहीं है, वो it's like a गुरुकुल. हम सब जितने lots of us, सचिन जिगर, अरिजीत सिंह, me, lot of us have gone there, spent so much time, done lot of effort and learned so much. I remember Rajesh used to tell me, मास्टर्स वहाँ से तूने लंदन से किया, PhD तो करेगा यहाँ पे. एंड वो बिल्कुल सच है. मैंने दादा के यहाँ, प्रीतम के यहाँ PhD करी है. आज भी till date, all the knowledge and skill that I have achieved is because of what and the experience I have achieved is because of what I have learned from there.
Right. So that after that meeting, did he offer you a job immediately or बोला कि मिलते रहना types?
नहीं, मेरे को immediately he said कि आ जाओ. In fact, he said आपका स्टूडियो कहाँ है? तो मैंने कहा लंदन में है. कहते हैं आप वहाँ से पूरा स्टूडियो यहाँ ले आओ. तो पूरा मेरा स्टूडियो एज इट इज एयर फ्रेट किया.
So you decided कि चलो आता हूँ वापस.
हाँ बिल्कुल 100%. इसमें दो बार तो सोचना नहीं था. Pritam giving me an offer was a dream offer for me.
So what was that first project that you worked with Pritam?
So when I first started with him, I started doing scratches. We used to. I was his in-house. I was in-house in his setup for almost 2 years.
In Serenity वाला.
Serenity वाला, हाँ correct. तो scratches से start किया. Then धीरे धीरे थोड़ा irritate ज़्यादा करता था मैं दादा को, दो यार final.
But you were comfortable with the DAWs being used here, and you were also using.
Because I had done masters in audio production from Westminster.
Correct. So you were already aware.
I was in fact one of the first few people to start with Logic. When I had reached here, everyone was mostly still on Windows and still on Nuendo and Cubase, the older versions. I was amongst the first few people who actually brought up a Mac and started with Logic and all of that.
This was which year?
2010. No, 10
Oh,
Jan. Now, when I joined Pritam, I remember, meeting some absolutely amazing musicians. I remember I met Jim Satya, I met Prasad Chaste, I met Dhruvoda, all of these people, and literally meeting them every day, रोज का उठना बैठना. There is so much I've learned from them, even from Aditya Dev. Funny story I'll tell you. Before London happened, after Singapore, there was a period of time, about almost a year, where I was actually in India.
okay.
And we used to live, in fact, Aditya used to live close to where we used to stay. So a friend of mine, Dev, who I met Aditya through, we used to stay, in Andheri and Amboli. That's when I had met him long back. And he was one of my first few inspirations. I remember when I met him, we spent about 10 minutes when he played some pieces on his keyboard. And I was absolutely blown away. You know, I was so blown away. He was one of my inspirations. Till date, he is. He's doing such great work. I know him as Pranav. It's funny, his name is Pranav Kumar Aditya Dev, is his full name. So anyway, so then I met Jim Satya, I met Prasad Shaste, I met Dhruvoda, and every day I used to interact with these people, and I used
So
to.
what kind of things do you talk? I mean, I'm just asking for the sake of viewers. Okay, when you meet these kind of people for the first time, or any new musician, what is the kind of chit chat you do?
Most of it was all our production related stuff, libraries, plugins, VSTs,
Right.
DAWs. Like for example, when I was on Logic, I remember at that time Jim was very excited. Tell me more about, because at that time I remember Jim used to be on Cubase. Jim actually switched to Logic then.
Okay.
After we had a long chat. And
So you talk about technology and stuff like that.
technology and stuff like that.
Because for example, when people meet me, they ask me discount में क्या दे रहा है या free में क्या दे रहा है. That kind of a thing. So
Yeah.
that, I mean, obviously the kind of people you meet, you'll talk about their
course.
profession or that product or
Yeah,
that
yeah.
technology or the technique.
Correct.
So have you all shared techniques with each other, or is the community so close that बोलेंगे नहीं shortcuts?
मुझे तो ऐसा बिल्कुल नहीं लगता. मुझे तो लगता है it's been a exchange of knowledge throughout. I'll give you an example. One of the things I've learned from Jim is how beautifully he manages to organize, to program organic elements. He's very good, for example, with programming guitar work, any string work or any guitar work. Jim does such an outstanding job. So I asked him one day. So he let me actually sit with him. He said, "Aja, sit. I'll show you, how it's done." And I remember he loaded up multiple VSTs, and then he actually, just like you do on a live recording, he actually panned them. He actually set up an entire stereo field, strums ho ya single takes ho ya kuch bhi ho. The way he designed them. So I don't think anybody's been really that uptight कि नहीं हम नहीं बताएंगे हमारा secrets or anything like that. That's not something that
So there is sharing that happens.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what is the journey post joining and working with Pritam? What is the first song you actually released?
First release song was in a Mukta Arts film. It was called Hello Darling, and that was actually, it's funny. It was actually a recreation, but a recreation of an old song. आ जाने जा, उसका एक remix type का ही था. So that was my actually, if you on record release, पहला वो था.
Okay.
My first big release with Dada was Dilli Wali Girlfriend. For Ye Jawani Hai Diwani. I was part of the team. So with Dada, it's normally not always just one person. It's multiple people. So one of the music producers on that record was me.
Right. And your solo.
Cutie Pie, Hai Dil Hai Mushkil.
Okay. Okay. So did you, or are you still working with Pritam alone, or then did you work with others also?
So I was exclusive with Dada for 2 years.
Okay. You don't have to sign a contract, no? Just.
No, of course.
और if you say कि सर मैं विशाल-शेखर के साथ भी काम कर रहा हूँ या करना चाहता हूँ, तो how do you handle that?
यहाँ पे ना आप you have to be very clear about your this thing. When I was exclusive with Dada, I was exclusive with Dada. वो तो मेरे को पहले से ही पता था, and I was with him. तो I was available for him. वो अलग बात है कि I used to irritating कि दादा और काम दो. To a point where he himself said, when in fact I started doing freelancing, he himself said कि why don't you go ahead now, set up your own place, ठीक है? But वो था कि अगर मैं बुलाऊँ तो फिर यार ऐसा नहीं करना कि तुम बहुत busy हो, मेरे को time देना. And of course, till date, if Dada calls me, Pritam calls me, I am available any given point of time. That has always been the case.
Right.
But मतलब ऐसा नहीं है कि नहीं जबरदस्ती है कि नहीं आप नहीं कर सकते, किसी को नहीं कर सकते. आप एग्जांपल्स देख लो आपके सामने. Everybody, all of Arijit and Sachin Jigar and all these people, Amal Malik, all of us, we've learned from there, and look, we've all grown. you know.
True.
So there's ऐसा थोड़ी है कि नहीं आप सिर्फ मेरे साथ ही करो.
Correct. So who else did you work with after him when you freelanced?
After him, I went on to work with a lot. I've done a lot of work with Rochak Kohli.
Okay.
I think Rochak's a great composer, and I think he's a great person to work with. Rochak is one of those guys who knows exactly what he wants. You know.
So that's a good point you mentioned, Bharat. You say that so and so is a great person to work with. We understand. Everybody understands he's a great paymaster.
Right.
कि भाई पेमेंट टाइम पे देता है और सही देता है. But good to work with. What are those qualities that you feel that make you comfortable?
So we are music producers. Okay. Now when we work with a music director, a composer, okay, it is our job to try and understand what the vision of the music composer is, and to try and bring that out through the production. Right. Now a lot of times what happens is, people are not sure exactly what they want. That is a problem. If people don't know exactly what they want, then how will we know their vision, and then it's a trial and error method.
Correct.
That can take longer, that can be slightly disorganized. But with people like Rochak, he knows exactly what he wants, you know.
But isn't that like a DTP job के ये font लेना, ये size लेना, टेक्स्ट का लेआउट ऐसे
नहीं.
रखना, पोस्टर ऐसे बनाना?
नहीं, क्योंकि कोई भी क्रिएटिव जॉब में फॉर्मूला नहीं वर्क करेगा. कोई भी म्यूजिक प्रोडक्शन इज अ क्रिएटिव जॉब.
True, but if a composer is clear,
Right.
Okay, I want a sitar. I want to open the song with a sitar. So he's already limited your thoughts by saying.
By saying I want a sitar, yes, but by saying I want, for example, a contemporary Indian classical piece. अब आपके ऊपर है कि ये फील ऐसा है और ये सिचुएशन ऐसा है कि इसमें ये डिमांड है. अब आप देखिए what best you can do, you know. So that gives us.
That helps you.
Absolutely. See, after all, we are doing most of the music we do is music for film. Correct. So it revolves around a situation, it revolves around a script, it revolves around an actor. So these are obviously factors we have to take into consideration. So when the composer gives us a brief, all these factors have been kept in mind before we have been given a brief. Again, it boils down to how the vision that the composer has. So we work according to that vision. Now, for example, I'll tell you a very arbit. This thing is more. Sometimes somebody walks in and says, "यार hit गाना चाहिए."
That's a brief.
That's a brief. Now that's a very very random brief. Hit गाना मतलब क्या? आप क्या definition दोगे hit गाने का? You know what I mean? It's not like that with people who know what they want. You know, it's, they've had experiences with doing backgrounds, and they've had experiences with scoring films and all of that. So they know exactly what they want, and they know exactly how to bring it out of you.
Correct. So working with different composers, do you have a switch or a template?
No, so it's not a template. What happens is कि शुरू में जब आप काम करते हो ना, it's still a process of trying to get to know each other. ठीक है? The composer tries to get to know the music producer, and obviously the music producer tries to get to know the composer and his vision. But over a period of time, एक जब tuning जम जाती है ना, तो वो अपने आप you sort of have an idea of what exactly he's looking for and how best to give it to him. You know, and it differs from person to person. It differs from composer to composer.
True.
Which is also a skill we as music producers must have.
True.
Which is how to be able to. अब again एक ही फॉर्मूला तो हम सबके साथ नहीं कर सकते ना. अब रोमांटिक गाने फॉर एग्जांपल अब हमने कम से कम 10-15 कंपोजर के साथ किए होंगे. दैट डजंट मीन कि वही रोमांटिक टेम्पलेट उठा के चिपका दो. ऐसे नहीं होता. एवरी सॉन्ग हैज इट्स ओन सिचुएशन, इट्स ओन डिमांड, इट्स ओन बेस्ट वे टू ट्रीट.
True. So if you talk of देखते देखते song, how did you choose कि हारमोनियम लूँ, शहनाई लूँ, तबला लूँ, ढोलक लूँ? How did you or you all decide कि ये instruments? That selection.
So देखते देखते में the idea was to देखते देखते actually a नुसरत जी की composition, the hook part of it. The idea was to stay as true to that as possible. Whenever we do recreations, we want to be in a situation where our audience, when they hear it, feel that they've been done justice with. You know, that the version that we have made sounds better, if not as good as the original. So that was the biggest challenge with Dekhte Dekhte, and we were very clear about that.
For arrangement also?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Now the challenge with, these are timeless melodies. These are melodies that I believe will never get obsolete. Right? Now the challenge was to make sure that the production lives up to that. The job of production is to bring out the beauty in the melody and the beauty in the composition and singing and writing, obviously, in which in Dekhte Dekhte's case were all brilliant. I think the writing, Manoj ji did a brilliant job. You know, Manoj is one of the best writers I know. Rochak Kohli did a great job of composing up till the the Mukra and the Cross and all of that. And obviously Atif Aslam smashed it. So now my job was to live up to all of that. You know, in a good song, you can't have any one aspect, unnis. वो नहीं हो सकता. So that was my job. And obviously the treatment was, because it's an Indian based melody. the Indian element had to be there, the connectivity had to be there. तो उसमें ढोलक चाटी वो सब तबला वबला सब है. But at the same time, we've thrown in strings, we've thrown in like now, for example, I remember we were having almost an argument over how we should do an intro. ठीक है? I was the one who said let's do a Indianish intro. Rochak Kohli said नहीं, इसमें ना अपन contemporary new age intro रखते हैं. That's how the guitar intro happened, and it became an iconic intro.
So at that time you cannot say नहीं मैं तो ऐसे ही करूँगा. You can't. I mean those kind of
अगर आप
मेरी चलेगी मेरा ईगो
नहीं ऐसा थोड़ी
ये सबको
अगर आप ईगो बेसिस पे ना अगर आप डिसीजन लेने लग जाओ ईगो बेसिस पे तो गाने की फिर क्रिएटिविटी सी एट द एंड ऑफ द डे द आइडिया इज टू डू द बेस्ट पॉसिबल वर्क टू ऐड द मोस्ट अमाउंट ऑफ वैल्यू.
Right.
Now if those decisions are based on value addition and if those decisions are based ki how can we together synergize all our efforts and make the best possible, then you're doing a great job. If those decisions are based on नहीं क्योंकि मेरी अथॉरिटी है मैं बोल रहा हूँ मैं म्यूजिक प्रोड्यूसर हूँ आप ये हो आप नहीं ऐसे तो फिर वो गाना वहीं मार खा जाएगा.
करेक्ट. तो ऐसा भी नहीं होता कि सर एक गिटार से तो शुरू करते ही हैं बट एक मैं आपको हारमोनियम का वर्जन भी सुना देता हूँ.
बिल्कुल सुनाइए अगर अच्छा है
फिर आप बताओ कि
बिल्कुल आप सुनाइए सुनाने
दैट यू कैन डू
100% एब्सोल्युटली
एंड यू शुड डू आल्सो.
बिल्कुल बहुत बार ऐसा भी होता है कि आपने हारमोनियम वर्जन सुना है और वो तो बेटर लग रहा है इससे then we discuss it unanimously and if you all agree that's it, the harmonium version goes through.
Right.
It's all about what works best for the song.
Right. I'll take a little more time and understand this process from you. Whenever a new product is launched by a company, now being a marketing guy, I know that the first thing we do is internal survey and before taking out in the market, customer को पूछते हैं through group discussions or tasting or sampling कि भाई कैसा लगा, आपको लगता है ये अच्छा है, ये बिस्किट का पैकेट अच्छा है, शेप अच्छा है, etc. And then based on the feedback we improve. Do you think that a decision taken by a few people in a room in four walls is a good idea because that's what has been happening, or asking a normal hey watchman जरा आना भैया आप बैठो ना जरा कैसा लग रहा है गाना, does that happen?
These four people who are doing the decision making in the room have years of experience behind them. They're actually not four people.
True, but सुनने वाला तो बाहर का ऑटो वाला है, बंदा है जो घर में रहता है.
बिल्कुल है आप बिल्कुल सही कह रहे हो. बट या तो आप सैम्पलिंग करिए, सैम्पलिंग का मतलब कि एक नहीं फिर आप मल्टीपल रिक्शा वाले बैठाइए और हर उसका एक ये करिए, या आप इनके एक्सपीरियंस की कदर विच इज व्हाट वी डू. They have we are content creators. Our experience and our expertise is creating content. Their experience in their creating their expertise is marketing this content, and they best know how to do that. Now they're experts in that. So if they at the end of the day if four people sit and take a decision, according to me it's not really four people. It's हमारी कहावत है इन चार लोगों के ना एक ऑडियंस एक कान पे करोड़ ऑडियंस दूसरे कान पे और एक करोड़ ऑडियंस बैठती है. Because their sense over all these years of having marketed this and having known what works best, their sense is something that is far beyond what we can come up with. We can creatively come up with कि हाँ सर हमें ऐसा लगता है कि ये इस टाइम चल रहा है वो उस टाइम this thing, but at the end of the day the marketing sense that they have, I think I have no problems with that. Absolutely, I think at the end of the day everyone has the same aim यार कि we make a great song which ultimately works commercially and becomes a big hit.
True.
So it's a synergistic effort of both creative people and marketing people.
Nice. So Bharat, it's been almost 10 years that you've been kind of in India now and doing so many songs, very good songs. And do you work alone? You have your own place now, so do you work alone from here or do you have people working with you?
So I have a fantastic team. That's I think one of the biggest strengths I have. I have Firoz Khan. He's a outstanding keyboard player, one of the best I know. I have Swaranjay Dhumal. He's a percussionist and he plays a very interesting instrument called the hand sonic. So he's actually sampled all kinds of percussion instruments.
Wow.
And he sampled them onto the hand sonic. In your dholak, tabla, dhol, everything he can play on that one instrument. Then I have Mohit Dogra, who's again an outstanding guitarist. Guitars, ukuleles. He plays on most of my records. There's a lot of other people. In fact, I'd also like to mention a lot of people who I've met along the way, who have helped me. They're not part of my team as such, but they've helped me a lot along the way. And some of the people are Rocky Khanna. He's actually managing Jubin at the moment, and Rocky Bhai has been like an elder brother to me. He's advised me. He's told me a lot of things which I've learned so much from him. And Jubin Nautiyal. I've had the fortune of actually producing a lot of records with him recently. for different films and singles, non-film as well. So we've learned a lot. I've learned a lot along the way from these people, all of them. You know, all my musicians and
by saying you've learned a lot, what do you mean? क्या मतलब किस तरह
how
से?
in a lot of ways. Like for example, one of the things Rocky Bhai told me, I'll admit, is that I must work on my social media, and I must
अच्छा, all
work
right.
stuff like that. You know, I must work on my appearance and you know all of that, dressing, all of that stuff. So
Okay.
advice in general as how to.
Okay. Nothing to do with ये plugin में ऐसा DB डाल वो डाल.
वो सब मेरे सारे म्यूजिशियंस और प्रोग्रामर्स के साथ होता है। वो तो रोज की एवरीडे हम लोग लगे रहते हैं, अरे ये प्लगइन देखा है, वो प्लगइन देखा है, नया कुछ है।
And Sudeep Audio please visit करते रहिए.
बिल्कुल, absolutely. In fact, I think one of the best technology distributors in the country. I think software and hardware, both you guys do now.
Yeah.
So I think one of the best technology distributors in the country is Sudeep Audio. I've had a lot of plugins and all that I've bought from them, and their pricing is just outstanding. In fact, their pricing somehow magically turns out to be cheaper than international pricing if you look at it, because they include GST in their price, in their packaging.
Thanks for that bite. So what is now in the pipeline for you?
So I'm doing a couple of projects with Pritam da. I'm doing Kalank, Brahmast. I'm doing a lot of work with T Series. So a lot of production work happening with them, uh, which includes a lot of work with Jubin. Jubin is actually a T Series artist. So I'm doing a lot of work there. I'm producing records with Rochak Paji. I've had the fortune of producing for a film called एक लड़की को देखा तो ऐसा लगा, which is a Vinod Chopra film. Beautiful songs there. I'm very proud of it.
Recreations or?
No, original songs.
And you mix also yourself, right?
Yes, I do actually mix and master as well. One of
So
my
that's the final that goes out from here?
Absolutely.
And what about the vocal dubs?
Vocal dubs depends. Now, some of them happen here, some of them happen outside.
So you just get the file and...
Yeah, I just get the files and I slap them on, as they say, all the sessions, process them.
Right. So Bharat, it was nice talking to you. And in the next part, we'll learn something more from you, something that I think very few people in this country do.
Right.
So I think people have to subscribe to the channel to watch that.
Sure.
Thanks.
Cheers.